My ex-girlfriend, 27, and I, 28 male, had been together for 5 years, and from my point of view, everything was fine. We were in love, living together, and we were the classic all roses and flowers couple because we had almost everything in common, like hobbies, passions, and the same character. So really, in 5 years, we never had a disagreement, fight, or argument. Our friends used to say that she was my soulmate. During these years, I never noticed anything wrong with her behavior. We were always on the same page. So believe me, I almost fainted when I found out that she was cheating on me through security cameras in my house. I was shocked and speechless because I couldn't see anything wrong with our relationship. We were both extremely happy, going on romantic dates, giving gifts, and doing little acts of kindness. So really, the cheating came out of the blue. The next day I came home from work and all her clothes and things were gone. Again, I didn't understand what was happening until I received a text from her that was explaining the whole mess. She was in an affair since we started dating because she couldn't choose between me and her ex-boyfriend, so she took both until she realized that her ex was more in love than you, and she went to stay with him. She said the 5 years of our relationship were a good experiment and then blocked me. The way she wrote it, with absolute coldness and disrespect for me and my feelings, made me mad and resentful. So I never contacted her again, but told my friends and family about the whole mess. All this happened a week ago. However, 2 days later, she and her affair partner were driving, both intoxicated, and had a fatal accident. Her family didn't know anything about the cheating. They reached out to me to inform me about the accident, but I told them that I didn't care because she betrayed me, so I was feeling nothing for her. They were in disbelief because she never told them about the whole situation, so I did and sent them the text she sent me a few days ago. They apologized to me and understood my bad feelings for her. My family and friends also texted me, but I told them again that I didn't care about my ex and that I hoped she was in the bad place right now with her ex. They all called me a cold and emotionless idiot, but sincerely, I don't care. They can say whatever they want, but nothing will change the sense of betrayal that I feel and the 5 years that I wasted with someone who was lying to me for that whole relationship. So, am I the idiot? Betrayal of this magnitude warrants no sympathy. Your feelings are valid, and you're not the idiot in this situation. But don't be surprised if you find yourself grieving. Grief is a weird emotion. You never know what you'll feel in a few months. It could be more intense anger. Who knows? Yeah, I think the anger is numbing everything right now. The grief will come through. My guess is OP hasn't even had the time to grieve or process the ends of the relationship, never mind her death. OP, make sure you take care of yourself. This is one of those instances where an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal. I get why you're angry. She took 5 years of your best moments and crapped on it. There's no right way to respond to an intense, life-altering series of events, especially when they're compressed into such a short time span. Whatever you feel is correct. Don't be surprised if you go through a bit of a roller coaster, but also don't be surprised if you don't. Anyone lecturing you for your response is behaving monstrously. All you need right now is support, no matter what. I suggest processing your anger. Don't let it become you, though. Talk to someone professional. Don't let her take your sense of self, too. You deserved better. My ex, 27 male, and I, 32 female, are fairly successful business partners. We were friends at first, but slowly we got together and were together for 3 years. I made it clear I have no desire for sex. I had a bad experience in the past when I gave birth to my daughter pre-tween, whom I love very much. My ex understood and said he wanted to be with me. I was madly in love and thought I had finally met my match. It all came crashing down 3 months ago when I found out he'd been cheating on me for months and his affair partner was pregnant. I was devastated, to say the least. I have decided to be celibate for the rest of my life to save myself from heartbreak. I moved away from my ex to another state to clear my head. Our business was flourishing. We had bigger plans, and we were attracting investors. To protect our business interest, I didn't make a public show. I planned to move with my daughter permanently once it's set up. My ex's family loves me, and I love them too. We share a good relationship despite my ex. His grandparents invited me to celebrate their wedding anniversary over brunch. I love them, and we three share inside jokes. Ex and his now pregnant girlfriend were present, but I managed to avoid them mostly. Then ex's girlfriend got up, announced her pregnancy, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "We want you to be our Munchkin's godparent once he comes." I was awkward, anxious, and straight up angry. I snorted and laughed to keep my appearance. Well, the sound I made was halfway between a horse braying and ugly crying, and said, "Oh, you don't want that. I'm moving away. The baby needs someone who can be around." The party went silent, and the mood definitely changed. I left in the next 40 minutes. My ex has been blowing up my phone and calling me selfish, that I didn't consider the grandparents' feelings and ruin their day. They're all very upset over how the party turned out. His girlfriend is embarrassed and has been crying. I asked him why he put me in that situation, and he said his grandparents were very upset that I wouldn't be a part of the family anymore. So his girlfriend thought making me their baby's godparent would somehow make them happy? I've stopped responding, but I do feel guilty for ruining grandparents' party. Maybe I should have dealt with it in private. I love them and I don't want this to be our last moment. Am I the idiot for refusing to be the godparent of my ex's baby? You are out of your darn mind to ask me that. Were you raised by baboons? Godparent of the affair baby, for God's sake. Stop talking to this person, because only a complete Nimrod would think this was a good idea. And you are not the idiot. In fact, I think you were very discreet. You used your moving away as the reason to say no. LOL, they thought they could put you on the spot into accepting and legitimizing their affair in the eyes of the family. And they're angry you didn't play along. Screw them. They were classless, tacky idiots all the way, and now have the guts to say you're being selfish. They're the ones who upset his grandparents, not you. Also, it sounds like his grandparents aren't thrilled about having a homewrecker in the family. They are classless, tacky idiots who hijacked the grandparents' anniversary dinner with their announcement and request. The nerve asking you to be a godparent to their unborn baby when your ex cheated on you with her. It's so wild that people do this. The disrespect. People who weaponize peer pressure by using public surprise requests like this are manipulative idiots. And this behavior has clearly been far too long considered acceptable. Exactly. Even in normal circumstances, I feel like that's usually a private conversation. Like it's very personal, not something you'd ask over dinner in normal circumstances, yet wedding anniversary. OP, you know you're right because you followed precisely what your heart told you to say. You're only writing this because of the gaslighting going on, which makes you doubt your own reality. If you feel bad for the grandparents, then call them directly and apologize, but stand by that you'd do it again. If your ex will gaslight you and guilt trip you, even before the baby is born, maybe it's best to split up the business. The business in another state is yours, and the business in this state is his. After you take your share, of course, and have a lawyer draw an airtight contract. Your ex is a cheater. One who cheats in marriage will cheat in business. You were friends. You're just civil acquaintances now. What's next? They'd ask you to be the maid of honor at their wedding? What a tacky pair of morons they are. My wife and mother have never, not even for a fraction of a second, got along. This was 100% my mother's fault. From the moment I dared to bring my wife home, my mom was hostile, saying my wife wasn't good enough for me and trying to get me to move back home. And yes, it's a culture thing. I'm Mexican, my wife is Irish. I cut my mom off for a very long time, and it pained me to do so, but it wasn't worth losing my wife. Well, my wife found out we were having a baby. We made the announcement, and somehow my mom found out. She started sending me mailed letters. I had her blocked off everything. And through the mail, she expressed her desire to be a grandmother and apologized multiple times. She said she would do better and be more accepting. After many long discussions with my wife, she caved and said my mom was welcome here for 4 days. She lives in Mexico, but we have a spare room, but said I had better stand up for her endlessly if my mom acts up. I agreed. My mom saved up for 4 months to travel this way. We're in Colorado. She got here 2 days ago. Everything was fine at first, but tonight, crap hit the fan. Basically, my wife still has trouble eating. She's still nauseous, and whenever her breast milk comes in, it makes her sick to her stomach. She also won't or can't eat when she's nursing because it makes her sick. Well, our daughter's cluster feeding, so my wife has a very small window of when she can eat. Well, my mom wanted to make a cultural dish tonight for dinner to treat us to a meal, but she hadn't told us that this meal takes around 4 hours to cook, and she started cooking at 4 p.m. My wife said she's going to eat something else because she couldn't wait that long to eat, and my mom was offended and said she was rude, which I immediately put a stop to and explained the situation. My mom stopped, but when my wife was eating, she kept giving her looks. I said, "Mom, stop it right now." She scoffed, said something under her breath, then turned to my wife and said, "In my culture, this is unacceptable. Since you're raising a child in my family, you will learn better." My wife immediately screamed at her, "Shut the heck up and let me eat or leave." My mom threw the hand towel, grabbed her stuff, and left. I was so hurt by the both of them. I told my wife she was a liar. She told me she would let me handle it, and she didn't. Instead, she made my mom leave. I know my mom was wrong, but why couldn't she do this for me? I then left. She didn't even try to stop me. She texted me and said, "Why don't you go back with your mom?" Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. If anyone lied, it was you when you said you would handle your mother. You didn't handle your idiot mother. You let her pick and pick at your wife until your wife snapped and finally put your awful mother in her place. Grow a spine and support your wife. You are a moron. If there was ever a worse time to test a woman's patience, do you understand how hungry you get when breastfeeding? It's worse than when you're pregnant, and your wife's already struggling to get enough calories in. You should have already moved your mom to a hotel, Airbnb, friend's house when she first started in on your wife. Your wife is tired, hormonal, and hungry, and your mom is entertaining herself by antagonizing your wife. You made a mistake reconnecting with your mom and should never have asked your wife to deal with her. Also, making a cultural dish that takes 4 hours in the home of a woman who's suffering from nausea? Getting mad because a woman postpartum needs to eat when she can? The mother was looking for and making a problem. I'm going to repeat this in case it needs to be clarified. Your wife did not make your mother leave. Your mother made that big girl decision on her own. Your wife was right. You should go back with your mother. I, 34, called out my cousin's 28 female, fiance, 35 male, for being rude and ordering a dish for himself at a family-style dinner. My family seems to be divided in this situation. Background: my family's Canadian and ethnically Chinese. My uncle and his wife, Aaron and Gloria, live in China and have not come to visit in 4 years. It's also the first time we're meeting their toddler son. They wanted to host a big Chinese banquet dinner, 16 guests, at a Michelin star restaurant. Dinner served family style with an 11-course set menu ordered in advance. My cousin Monica brought her fiance Todd, who was initially not invited. So we ended up being 17 guests. This wasn't a huge deal, just a minor oversight. There was plenty of room and food to go around. 2 dinner sets were ordered, enough for 20 people. We had 4 Peking ducks, and everyone got a generous serving of 5 to 7 wraps each. Another Peking duck was brought to our table later. My aunt was confused, but Todd spoke up and ordered another Peking duck, $280 before tax. He had no intention of eating the rest of the dishes and just wanted to fill himself on duck. We were all taken aback, but we didn't say anything about it for the rest of the dinner. My uncle was visibly disgruntled. Todd didn't discuss this with anyone before ordering. Gloria paid for the dinner. I don't know the full amount, but I looked on the restaurant's website. After drinks, wine, tax, and gratuity, closer to $9,000 was spent. Todd did not offer to pay for his Peking duck and had already exited to have a smoke. My parents and I carpooled with Monica, Monica's mother, and Todd. I spoke up about Todd being out of line and rude for doing that. I told them it was a slap in the face. They were more than generous, taking us to a Michelin star restaurant. Todd rebutted that if they were rich enough to take us there, they could afford to have a few extra dishes added. I said that was beside the point. Monica said she would pay them back. My argument is less about the money and more about how Todd did what he did without even acknowledging it as being rude or ungracious. Todd doubled down and said that if it really bothered them, they would have asked him to pay for his portion. If Todd intended to pay for his Peking duck, why didn't he just return another day for it? If you know anything about Chinese people, when it comes down to a dinner bill, they will fight tooth and nail to try to pay for it. I asked Todd to acknowledge his mistake and apologize. Todd said he felt he did nothing wrong and didn't intend to address the issue further. They argued that because Gloria is way more culturally Chinese, she's more upset than she should be. This is an acceptable thing to do in Canada, and Gloria's being too sensitive and traditional. So am I the idiot for calling out my cousin's fiancé? For clarification, Todd is Chinese. Aaron, my mom, and Monica's mother are siblings. Monica's already estranged herself from the family years ago. She moved to the U.S. for post-secondary education and relocated to New York after. She has never visited in the last 10 years. She only moved back a few months ago because her parents cut her off financially. Now that she's getting married, she's trying to reconnect with all of us and already expects her parents to foot the bill for a lavish wedding. I'm actually one of her bridesmaids, and not really by choice. My mom and Monica's mother pressured me into accepting. So she was cut off financially by her parents and jumped at the chance to eat in an expensive restaurant where she knew she didn't have to pay anything. She invites her rude boyfriend/fiancé after the main course, who's so entitled, he knew they were rich and could afford it, so I did nothing wrong. Well, now you all know that they're both after money, or whatever they can get for free, so none of you will be available to attend her wedding. You might be too sick to attend. Make sure to send her a Michelin star cookbook as a wedding gift. Wow, that would be a hilarious wedding gift. Using someone else's money to order something without permission is unacceptable in any country I've heard of. At this point, everyone should be on guard, because Monica sounds like that bride who asked all her guests to pay thousands of dollars to be guests so she could have a lavish wedding. She's got everyone's bank accounts in her crosshairs. She and her boyfriend are moochers. You are not the idiot. They're the idiots. I will let your cousins know. Todd will not be invited to anything else family-oriented. But a dinner bill of $9,000 for 17 people is obscene. That's the price of a used car, not a random meal.